What if I told you that motivation is overrated in most organizations? In fact, some of the most motivated teams in the world still fail to execute. Yet they have high energy, they have great attitude. There's a powerful vision in the company, but the results are inconsistent. So here is the real question. If motivation isn't the answer, then what is it? What is the answer then? In this video, we're going to break down the difference between alignment and motivation and why one skills execution while the other burns out. And I'll show you how to build alignment in a way that makes motivation almost unnecessary. Let's get into it. Let's start with something most leaders won't say out loud. Motivation is unreliable. It is emotional. It fluctuates. It depends on energy, mood, environment, even sleep. And yet, many organizations are built on it. We try to motivate teams through talks, incentives, pressure, vision casting, and for a moment, it works. People feel energized, they push harder, they show up differently. But then what happens? It fades. It fades because motivation is a spark, not a system, and you cannot scale a spark. You cannot scale a spark. Let me give you a scenario. You have a team, they are committed, they care, they're trying, but results are inconsistent. Deadlines slip, decisions drag, quality varies. So leadership responds with more motivation. Let's push harder. Let's be more disciplined. Let's stay focused. But nothing fundamentally changes. Why? Because execution doesn't break down due to lack of effort. It breaks down due to lack of alignment. When people are not aligned on what matters most, what decisions are made, what success actually looks like, they don't move consistently, even if they are highly motivated. So what is alignment? What is alignment? Alignment is shared clarity, not shared goals, shared thinking. It means your team understands one, what we prioritize, two, how we make decisions, three, what trade-offs we accept, four, who owns what. Alignment reduces variability, and variability is the enemy of execution. Because when every person interprets situations differently, you don't get momentum. You get friction. So let's make this distinction clear. Motivation says, try harder. Alignment says, think clearer. Motivation increases effort. Alignment increases accuracy. Motivation is temporary. Alignment is structural. Motivation pushes people. Alignment guides people. And here is the key insight. Effort without alignment creates chaos. Alignment without motivation still creates progress. Because clarity outperforms energy. Let me repeat that. That alignment without motivation still creates progress. Because clarity outperforms energy. I once worked with a team that was incredibly driven. They had ambition, they had urgency, They had pressure from leadership, but they were constantly colliding with each other. Constantly. Marketing was optimizing for speed. Operations was optimizing for accuracy. Finance was optimizing for cost. Everyone was motivated, but no one was aligned. So every decision turned into friction. We didn't increase motivation, we aligned decision standards. We clarified priorities. We defined ownership. And almost immediately, execution improved. Not because people cared more, but because they finally understood how to move together. Think about a Formula One pit crew. These teams are not just motivated, they're aligned. Every moment is synchronized. Every role is clear. Every decision is predefined. They don't gather around a car and say, let's do our best. They execute with precision. Because alignment removes hesitation. Yes, alignment removes hesitation. And hesitation is what actually slows down the teams. It slows down the teams. So if alignment is so powerful, why do leaders default to motivation? Why? They default to motivation because it's easier. Motivation is quick. Alignment takes work. It forces you to think hard questions. It forces you to actually answer hard questions like, one, what do we really prioritize? Two, what trade-offs are we willing to make? And three, where are we actually inconsistent? And many organizations avoid these questions. So they compensate with energy, but energy without clarity is expensive because it leads to rework, to delays, to frustration. Let's make this practical. If you want to move from motivation to alignment, start here. One, define decision standards. What does a good decision looks like in your organization? Be explicit. Number two, clarify priorities. What matters most right now? Not everything. What matters most? Number three, establish ownership. Who decides? Who contributes? Who executes? Remove ambiguity. Number four, make trade-offs visible. Every decision has a cost. Aligned teams make that cost clear upfront. Here's a quick test for your team. If you removed all motivation, no speeches, no pressure, no incentives, would execution still happen consistently? Would it? If the answer is no, you are relying on energy instead of alignment. The goal is not to eliminate motivation. Motivation is useful. It has its place in the organization. It creates momentum, but it should not be the foundation of execution. Alignment should. Because when alignment is strong, motivation becomes a bonus, not a requirement. So the next time your team struggles to execute, don't ask, how do we motivate them more? Instead, ask, where are we misaligned? Because the highest performing teams in the world are not the most motivated. They are not. They are the most aligned. If this gave you a new way to think about execution, make sure you subscribe, because that is exactly what we break down here. How to build organizations that move with clarity, speed, and consistency. I will see you in the next video.